Fans, welcome back to another episode of the Pioneer Coaches Shows inside here at the Waco Center. Today, I got Coach Keven John with me, coming off a historic season with the volleyball program here.
Well, it's great to be here. As always, it's great to sit and chat about volleyball.
Well, yeah, especially with the popularity of the sport definitely growing, I think, in the past 5 years, especially within the state of West Virginia. I think it's starting to explode. So, I mean, I think it's great that we're doing this to also help promote your program, but then the sport as a whole.
Well, we're talking about the popularity of volleyball. Volleyball is absolutely the most participated in female sport in high school in the United States of America. West Virginia itself has the fastest growing female in high school volleyball growth also. So it's the most popular sport in the country, and it's the fastest growing sport in our state.
Which, I mean, I think that's got to make you happy knowing that the sport that you love is continuing to grow and continuing to grow and reach a broader audience.
Oh, please! It's a fantastic sport, and on the other side, it's actually one of the fastest growing sports on the boys and men's side, also in the country, NCAA and high school. So, get ready! It's a volleyball takeover. It's happening.
Well, so speaking of volleyball, let's talk about the season you guys had. First time making the MEC tournament in school history. Best record that the program's had in 22 years.
22 years, yeah, that's just a mouthful right there. Just to say that, it's hard to follow up to just saying that it's the best record in 22 years. That's great, but really the perspective of that to me is how hard the women work to achieve that goal. We at the beginning of the season, we all sat down, we talked about the things that we wanted to achieve. There was lots of ups and downs. There was things that we had, hurdles we had to get over, mountains we had to climb. And even when we slipped, we just got back on our feet and started climbing again. And I'm just entirely proud of this program and the women and how they handled themselves. And it is a fantastic accomplishment for them. They couldn't have done much better. They gave everything they could, and it showed in the end in results, which is always a nice thing to have happen.
And plus, too, I mean, that first round game, Wheeling, it's a tough opponent. And, for the most part, I thought you guys played really tough with them, just as a team of that caliber. And, I mean, speaking of that, I mean, I think that's the reason why this year we had 4 teams in the Atlantic region make the tournament.
Yeah, that's something we actually talked about at the beginning of the year. Even if we weren't a team that was necessarily going to be regionally ranked this year, success in some of the teams that are rising in the bottom half of our conference, which is where we were and we're growing out of, means that there's going to be more success for our conference overall, which also means that we will have an easier path to having national qualifying teams. And that was also one of our goals. One of our goals this year was, if we don't get into to the national tournament, that more MEC teams do than did in the past. And that absolutely, my goal was 3, and it ended up being 4. And I think that there was a lot of teams that helped that happen. So basically, I've been in a lot of seeding committees. If you play teams that don't have great records, it can almost hurt you to get a win against them and not have consideration for the national tournament. So now when we come up and we're playing against teams like Wheeling in the MEC tournament, as well as just throughout the regular season, all of us playing against each other, and it's tough, hard-fought matches that are going 4 and 5, and we have 500 records throughout the year. Those kinds of things. Even though we didn't come out on top this year, I do believe we helped propel those teams to that those 4 teams going to the national tournament. And even though that's not us, I am proud of that. I'm proud of the MEC. That's fantastic.
Well, like you said, it's going to increase the competition and make it an easier path for you guys to make the tournament at the end of the day.
It's easier to recruit. It's easier for lots of things. And you get people in there, they want to experience nationally level programs. They want to compete against the best teams in the country. And when you have 4 teams that come out of your conference that go to the national tournament, that is a big number. There's not many conferences that have more, maybe none this year. I've come from some conferences that were considered top 2, 3 conferences in the country, and they were getting 4. So it is a fantastic thing to have happen for our conference. And in turn, it's going to trickle to us, and it's going to be something that we can benefit from going forward.
Now, I mean, I know we've talked about some of the team accomplishments here, kind of pivoting some of the individual accomplishments here. Kasha, she was second team all conference. How big of a piece has she been this year for you?
Oh, Kasha's fantastic. She's just great to have in the gym. She works hard. She's funny. basically is just the Energizer Bunny. You can't slow her down. And teams knew she was coming. Teams knew she was getting the ball. She was the most set player on our team. We run zero tempo, meaning she was jumping before the set, so they knew where she was. And she still found the floor all the time. She still hit at a clip that awarded her all conference, and was somebody that we didn't have to stop setting just because they knew she was coming. She was a pretty unstoppable force throughout the season. Won MEC Player of the Week award. She was a second team All-Conference award. She was in the top 20 in service aces in the entire country, actually, I believe, if that's right off the top of my head. She was a force in all sorts of, I mean, as a middle hitter, she even service received like 100 times this season for us. And that's just something that's not done. She's a quality, fantastic athlete.
And she definitely was. I mean, I believe she finished at least in the top 10, I think, as an individual. 4 service aces, and I believe Helene was, close behind her. I think maybe in the top 20 range as well, which kind of helped her tell the team to be the number 1 service ace team in the conference, and was up there nationally.
Yeah, we ended up 4th in the nation in total aces, and I believe we were like 17th in aces per set, somewhere in that. That's one of the first things we always try to turn around when I took over a program is serving, receive, and defense. We want to be one of the best defenses. We also were very highly ranked as far as opponents' hitting percentages. We held teams down greatly, way under their averages all year long. We did the same thing playing Wheeling. They hit under their average when they played us. They got us, but we kept them looked down. Got under with our serve. They just happened to be the better team that day, but in the tournament. But I think it showed in that whole match the things that we'd worked on the whole year and how it came out in that match. And that helped us to where we got to this year for sure. All of those individual and team accomplishments as far as statistical goes.
And looking at your roster too, you had some transfers, but then also some of the freshmen played some key roles for you. 2 of them that definitely come to mind for me was Rita Kelly, who made the freshman team, and then Delana was really just a defensive monster for you guys, truly at the net.
Yeah, I truly think that. Was the right word for this? She got a bit gypped on the all-freshman team. Not to question any of the coaches or any of that, because the thing that actually happened was she had an amazing last week of the season, and the nominations happened before that, and so some of the information was entirely updated. So she came from outside of the top 10 in blocks per set in the conference to all the way up to 5th in that last week. So she was a top 5 blocker in our conference this year as a freshman, and absolutely deserved that spot. I mean, she is an unholy terror as far as blocking goes, and teams do not like looking at her and Rita standing next to each other. You can just see the look on their faces. I think we've actually heard people say through the net, "That's a big block." So I think also some of Elena's success can be given to Rita, because that block together is tough.
Definitely. I mean, I know beginning of the year when we were looking at the roster, that was definitely something that stood out to us was, you had multiple girls over 6 foot, and we're like, okay, this is a truly competitive roster here. They're going to be a fun team to watch this year.
Yeah, it's fun to watch Nelena 6'4" walk out of the bus, and then Rita 6'3" walk out of the bus right after her, and have people kind of look around and go, okay, something's changed here.
Yeah.
So that is a nice welcome addition for sure.
So as we're kind of transitioning to the off season here, what are some of your plans to kind of get ready here for the next season this fall?
Same old, same old. We're going to reach out and find a schedule that suits us so that we can grow and get better. Some challenging matches, something that's going to push us to get ready for conference. And then we'll be in the spring working very hard individually to grow our athletes. We'll be working hard in the weight room to get the verticals up, to do injury prevention and all those kinds of things, make sure we're well balanced and ready to have the rigors of next fall happen. But that's really the bulk of it. It's a lot of individual attention in the spring, workouts with the ball in our 45-day non-championship segment. It's going to be all that good stuff. And then, of course, it's nice to be able to get in the spring because there's a little less time and have the athletes get some of the tougher classes out of the way. Those kinds of things. So that's going to be a really big academic focus. I mean, we're always academically focused, but a bigger one obviously will be in the spring, where maybe you got organic chemistry coming up. Maybe that's a springtime
Yeah.
class.
Yeah.
So those are the things that we'll be doing this spring for sure.
No, I definitely know what you mean by that, Coach. Just experiencing some of my friends when I went through college of, oh, why am I taking OChem this semester? Like, I'm already taking 18 hours. Like, why don't I just wait till next semester? So,
Right.
but Coach, pleasure to have you. Thank you for coming on.
No problem.